Alcaraz announces that he will not play the Davis Cup. The Mercian player states that he has edema in the hamstring and is therefore out of the World Cup Final 8. Stay until the end of the video to learn all the details. After a frantic Monday of medical tests and analysis of results, on Tuesday morning the worst possible news for the Spanish tennis team was confirmed. Carlos Alcaraz will not play the Final 8 of the Davis Cup this week in Bologna. This was confirmed by the world number 1 himself, who revealed that he has edema in the hamstring of his right leg, caused during the ATP Finals last week, and that it does not give him the guarantees to compete at a high level. The Royal Spanish Tennis Federation also announced it in a statement, so the Armada will face the final phase of the Davis Cup, which begins on Thursday against the Czech Republic in the quarterfinals, with 4 players, Jaume Munar, Pedro Martinez, Pablo Carreño, and Marcel Granollers. I am very sorry to announce that I will not be able to play the Davis Cup with Spain in Bologna. I have edema in the hamstring of my right leg and the medical recommendation is not to compete. I have always said that playing for Spain is the greatest thing there is, and I was really excited to help fight for the Salad Bowl. I'm going home hurt, Alcaraz shared on his social networks. Carlos Alcaraz will not be able to be part of the Mafre Spanish tennis team that will play the Davis Cup Final 8 in the Italian city of Bologna starting next Thursday, due to physical discomfort suffered in the back of his right thigh during his participation in the ATP Finals last week in Turin, were the words issued by the RFID. Edema in the hamstring is an abnormal accumulation of fluid inside the hamstring muscle, caused by an injury, overload or microtears. It is not a tear as such, but it is usually the step prior to or consequence of muscle damage. That is why Alcaraz, who wanted to do everything possible to compete in Bologna and try to win what would be the first Davis Cup of his career, has finally decided not to take major risks. The announcement of the world number 1's withdrawal was the final point of 24 hours of much movement in the northern Italian city, where Alcaraz traveled on Monday by van from Turin. After a 3.5-hour trip, the Mercian arrived in Bologna in the late afternoon to undergo an MRI scan that would clarify the discomfort he was experiencing. Ángel Ruiz Catoro, the team doctor, supervised the entire process, and the results were sent to Juanjo Lopez, Carlitos' personal doctor, who is in Murcia. He analyzed the images from different perspectives, and the information finally began to arrive. Federation sources assured the media present at the team's hotel, including that Alcaraz had an overload, but had avoided a tear. Thus, the initial plan was for Charlie not to train on Tuesday and to do so on Wednesday, the day he would test himself and decide whether to play or not. However, that initial information changed shortly after. As learned that there was a shift in opinion within the player's entourage, as it was considered that if Alcaraz played on Thursday against the Czech Republic, he would be at significant risk of tearing the muscle. It should be remembered that less than 2 months remain until the start of the Australian Open. El Partidazo de Cope reported on Monday night that the player from El Palmar would ultimately not compete in Bologna, and a few hours later Alcaraz himself came forward to clarify and officially announce his withdrawal. The 6-time Grand Slam champion will leave the Spanish training camp in northern Italy this Tuesday, and will not even attend the press conference later this afternoon with the rest of his teammates. He left, in his own words, hurt. The Mercian's withdrawal from the Davis Cup brings his 2025 season to a somewhat more abrupt end than expected. Carlitos closed what is surely the best season of his professional career with a record of 71 wins and just 9 losses, and above all 8 titles, 2 Grand Slams, Roland Garros and the US Open, 3 Masters 1000s, Monte Carlo, Rome and Cincinnati, and 3 ATP 500s, Rotterdam, Queens and Tokyo. Now, after returning home this Tuesday, Alcaraz will treat his hamstring issues, an area that also kept him from competing in Madrid this 2025, and will begin preparing for the next season. On December 7, the Spaniard is scheduled to play an exhibition against Francis Tiafoe in New Jersey, and the next day he will face João Fonseca in another friendly match in Miami. Later, on January 10, he will play another exhibition, this time against Jannik Sinner in South Korea, from where he will travel to Australia. There, he will take part in the $1 million one-point slam and finalize his preparation for the first Grand Slam of the year. With Alcaraz already out of play, the outlook for the Spanish team in the Bologna Final 8 changes significantly. Jaume Munar becomes, by ranking, the number 1 of the team captained by David Ferrer, who will choose Pablo Carreño for the other singles match. The doubles, which is only played if necessary, will be played by Marcel Granollers and Pedro Martinez, who have already paired together in the past. The Armada will face the enormous challenge on Thursday of defeating the Czech Republic, now surely the big favorite to lift the Salad Bowl after the withdrawals, led by Jiří Lehečka, Jakub Mensik, and Thomas Machak. If Spain beats Berdic's team, Argentina or Germany await in Saturday's semifinals, and in Sunday's final they would face the winner of the section of the draw that opens this Tuesday with France vs Belgium and continues Wednesday with Italy vs Austria. Shocking decision by Carlos Alcaraz after the final against Sinner. The duel in Turin brought intense emotions, but it also triggered an important change in Alcaraz. Today I will tell you what really happened after that match and what unexpected shift Alcaraz announced to prepare for his comeback. Let's discover it together. The final between Alcaraz and Sinner was a clash of power, tactical intelligence, and mental resilience. Although Carlos showed a solid level, Sinner once again demonstrated why he is living the best moment of his career on indoor hard courts. His streak of 32 consecutive wins is no coincidence: constant pressure on serve, aggressiveness, and a perfect reading of the game. Carlos knew this, and even so, he entered convinced that he could break that trend. Despite the defeat, Alcaraz appeared surprisingly calm. What stood out most was his feeling of progress. For him, this match was not a step back, but proof that his indoor level is growing. He acknowledged that Sinner had improved even more, something that makes every match between them a battle of adjustments and constant evolution. This rivalry is becoming one of the most exciting on the tour. The small physical scare came in the form of a hamstring pull. Alcaraz confessed that he felt a pinch while trying to return a serve, but clarified that it did not affect his overall performance. However, it did limit certain explosive movements that are normally part of his repertoire. Even with that discomfort, he insisted that the defeat did not come from his body, but from details he was unable to convert. One of those details was the unexpected power of Sinner's second serve. Carlos was returning very well until suddenly the Italian began serving at almost 190 km/h with second serves that seemed like first serves. That variation threw him off and prevented him from taking the initiative in key points, especially in the tie-break of the first set, where he had opportunities he couldn't seize. Alcaraz's game plan was solid: pressure, vary heights, finish at the net. And he did. But not enough. He admitted himself that he failed in crucial moments, such as not finishing points with the backhand volley, a tool he uses to break the rhythm of aggressive opponents like Sinner. Those details, he said, were what tilted the result toward the Italian. Frustration, however, was not the dominant feeling. What really marked his mood was the clarity with which he saw the path forward. Every defeat brings a lesson, and this time he felt the difference was minimal. There was no emotional drop. No excuses. Just one conclusion: he needs to come back stronger, faster, and more complete than ever. After the match, Alcaraz made a forceful decision: to completely transform his preseason. He said he will give his maximum, but this time he expressed it with a different, sharper determination. He feels he's at the doorstep of a new stage in his career, and this loss was the spark he needed to ignite an evolution process. He does not want details to betray him again. His main objective is to strengthen his physique to avoid issues like the hamstring discomfort. Although this one wasn't serious, it reminded him that his explosive style requires an impeccable muscular foundation. Carlos knows that every point demands extreme movements, and he wants his body to respond without limitations. That will be the first major mission of his preseason. The second focus will be the serve. Sinner's variations forced him to rethink how much impact an improved serve could have in pressure moments. He wants a more stable first serve and a more aggressive second serve. He knows that if he wants to dominate indoors, he needs to add speed and precision so he isn't at the mercy of rivals who return with such power. In the tactical aspect, there will also be changes. Alcaraz confessed that his backhand volley was a problem in the final, and that led him to decide he will spend several weeks perfecting that shot. In his offensive style, the net is a key territory, and if he cannot finish points with confidence there, his plans quickly fall apart against players like Sinner. But perhaps the most impactful part of his decision is in the mental area. Carlos stated that he wants to work more on managing critical moments. He does not want to fail again to capitalize on a mini-break or let a lead slip away in a second set where he had control. For him, the difference between winning and losing in finals like this is as much in the mind as in the hitting. His final message was clear: next time he wants the details to play in his favor. That sentence summarizes everything. He is not looking for revenge, but improvement. And he made it clear that he intends to come back to win, not just to compete. That mentality, combined with the hunger that already defines him, will make the preseason a key phase ahead of the new season. The Italian dedicated some beautiful words to Carlitos after being crowned for the second consecutive year in the Masters Cup. Carlos Alcaraz could not overcome Jannik Sinner in the final of the Masters Cup. The Mercian put in a great performance, but the solidity of the Italian ultimately prevailed in a match that was very balanced for most of the time. Only the details, in Sinner's favor, ended up deciding the final and the second Masters title for the world number 2. It is the second consecutive crown Jannik wins in Turin, all without dropping a single set. Even so, the number 1 ranking belongs to Alcaraz this season, as the Mercian confirmed in the group stage. Regarding that, Sinner took the opportunity to dedicate some beautiful words to Carlitos after the final. Despite their rivalry on the court, they maintain a great relationship. "If I'm not number 1, I want you to be," Jannik said during the trophy ceremony. Both he and Carlos dedicated emotional messages to each other after yet another great final between them. Carlos Alcaraz left the court in Turin with a mixture of pride, clarity, and determination after losing the 2025 ATP Finals final 7-6-4, 7-5 to world number 2 Jannik Sinner. The match brought together the two best players of the season. Both arrived with a perfect 4-0 record in the tournament and a rivalry that has shaped much of the year. "I am very, very happy with the level I showed today, with the performance." The loss closed a season in which Alcaraz played 6 finals, won 4 of them, maintained his world number 1 ranking, and consolidated a year of consistency and evolution. Before the match, Alcaraz had won 7 of his last 8 encounters with Sinner and led the head-to-head 10-5. This time, however, Sinner's precision indoors prevailed and halted the Spaniard's late-season momentum. "You don't lose many matches, but after each loss you come back stronger." Alcaraz acknowledged the significance of Sinner's achievement, emphasizing the Italian's impressive indoor streak and the exceptional level he showed throughout the week. The match reflected a rivalry fueled not only by talent but also by mutual respect and shared ambition. The Spaniards stressed that these kinds of battles push them both, and added that the quality of their tennis demands more encounters on big stages in the coming seasons. "I hope you're ready for next year because I will be ready." Afterward, he moved on to the thank yous, highlighting the essential role of his team and family throughout a season that pushed him to his physical and mental limits. With many of them present in Turin, he made it clear that this defeat does not overshadow the path they have traveled together. I am very lucky to have them supporting me." Looking back on the year, Alcaraz stressed that falling short of the ATP Finals title does not change his evaluation of the season as a whole. 4 titles, a 4-2 record in finals, and maintaining the number 1 ranking reflect consistency and the ability to grow through setbacks.